Hello and good morning everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And if you are new to the channel, you're also very welcome. Now before we get into this episode, if you could take the time just to like and subscribe, that would be fabulous. And if you do subscribe, then you'll be updated straight away whenever I upload new content to this channel. So in this episode, which is episode 9, we're going to take a look at grief. So grab your morning cup of tea or coffee and let's get into it. So before we get into the content of this video, I just want to kind of say that this is not going to be done in a sad or morbid way. Yes, we're talking about grief, but I want to touch on it because I have many people come to me asking how to deal with grief, or they tell me some horror story of someone telling them, it's been 2 years, maybe you should get over it, stop talking about it. And no one has the right to do that. And even last night, I had one of my followers on my Facebook page tell me that she had lost about 3 people in the space of a week, and that's absolutely horrific. To lose one person is, hard enough, but to lose 3 in a short amount of time, that's horrible. And I was asked, how do we deal with that? How do we get over that from a human perspective? So I wanted to touch on that. I also want to touch on it from a medium perspective, as in, a lot of people ask that as a medium, how do you cope with death? How do you cope when one of your loved ones or passes away? Do you feel it in the same way as us normal people do? Well, let's just clarify that. I'm as normal as everybody else, right? I think there's a misconception that as a medium we have something really special that doesn't allow death to affect us when our own ones pass away, and that's simply not true. As a medium, we are no more special than you guys. Okay, we're exactly the same. I feel the death of my loved ones exactly the same as you would feel them, as you would feel it, I should say. So I want to talk about that in more detail and kind of maybe answer some of the questions that you guys have, or maybe make you feel a bit better, maybe put your mind at peace or at ease when it comes to grief and death, I suppose. So let's get more into that now. So first thing I want to talk about is how, as a medium, do we feel when we lose someone, a loved one, a family, a friend. And I can honestly say, as I've just said a minute ago, I feel it in exactly the same way as anybody else would. Okay, I've lost a lot of people. I have lost a lot of people, and I don't need to go into details about who, because this is not about me. This is just answering questions and putting your mind at ease. But I've lost a lot of people, and I haven't always done mediumship. It's come a lot later in life for me to start my mediumship development, and I'd lost a lot of family members and some friends prior to starting developing as a medium. So back then, I didn't have the knowledge of the spirit world or what happens when we pass, and etc., etc. And even still to this day, when I lose someone, family, friend, or whoever, I'm still affected in the same way, even though I have an idea of what happens, what the transition is like to the spirit world. It's still a physical loss, right? And people might say, well, can you not contact them yourself directly because you are a medium? I can, but the connection is different. It's not like having a conversation with them as I would with a human person, because it is symbolic, and it's not like just talking as I'm talking to you now. It's very different. So it's still a physical loss, and and I still miss that. I wish I still have my grandparents here, all of whom have passed over to spirit. No longer have a stepdad, and I wish those people were also they were here, because yes, I can connect to them. But I'd love to sit them down and have that physical conversation, give them a hug, share memories. Even my stepdad, for example, we like the same music, and he would listen to my music in my bedroom or whatever and ask me to make him a mixtape. And I hear songs come out now, which I think I go straight to him and go, he'd really love that song because I love it. And it's those physical things that we miss. So yeah, so even as a medium, even though I know that they're okay, they're fine where they are, and I know that they're around me and all of my family members, it's not the same as having them here physically. So I still feel that loss. Yes, I feel slightly better knowing that I know where they are, and if I want to connect with them, I can. If they want to come in close, obviously I can't demand, I can't click my fingers and they come in, but I know that they're around, so that brings me comfort and brings me peace. And I know not everyone has that, right? People that are non-mediums or are just not open spiritually to feel them, I know you don't have the same experiences, which is why I guess you go to mediums. But your loved ones are always around you, and that's a cliche, and people saying your loved ones are always around. They really are, and it's just remembering that they are with you. And the thing is, I think as human beings, we're the ones that do the grieving. We're the ones that suffer emotionally the most. Where our spirit family, they don't, because they see what's going on. And people do ask me, do they miss us? Not particularly. And that's just in my opinion and my viewpoint and my experience of doing this work, is that spirit don't miss us. We miss them because they're not physically here. They don't miss us because they see what's going on. They are around us. So that's I find that quite interesting, really, that we carry all those human emotions here, those physical, the grief, the loss and all that kind of stuff, where spirit don't. In fact, spirit want us to be happy. Spirit don't want us to grieve for the rest of our life, because we have another life to live. We have a life to live, and they almost live through our eyes, and they will see what we do, what we achieve. Even though they've gone, they will still see that, and they don't want us to grieve forever. They want us to live. They want us to be happy. And we're always going to miss them. You can't get away from that. You're always going to miss your loved ones, whether it's a parent, a sibling, God forbid, a child. That doesn't change. That's always going to be there. But what we need to do is learn to live. And it does become easier. And I'm not going to tell people how to grieve, but I'll come on to that in a second. But, just remember, your spirit loved ones, they don't want you to be miserable. That's the last thing they would want. The last thing they would want is for you to be miserable and to stop living your life. So to wrap that up, yes, I feel the loss of people exactly the same as anybody else would, because we want them physically here. And a lot of mediums do say, it irritates me a little bit when they say there is no death. We live on. Do you know what? To keep it real, there is death. There's a physical death which people feel, and I feel it. Yes, the soul continues. The soul does not die. You cannot kill energy, and our souls are energy. You cannot kill that energy. So yes, that will continue to live. So in that sense, yes, there is no death because our soul will continue. But there is a physical death, and that is what people feel. So I don't feel comfortable as a medium saying to anybody, never fear death, life is eternal, because to me that's quite patronising. Because if I was to say that to a parent who had lost a child, oh, don't worry, there is no such thing as death, that's quite patronising, because that parent feels that loss because it is a physical loss, and it's the physical that we really miss. But yes, our souls do go on, souls do not die, and you will see your loved ones on the other side when you get there. And that's something I have to remind myself of as well, because again, death affects me exactly the same as it would affect you. So let's now talk about grief in general from a human perspective. And I want to start with the question I got from one of my followers on my Facebook Live last night, and the lady who explained that her family had lost 3 people in the space of about a week, and how to deal with that and how to cope with that. Now, my view and opinion is you have to cope with it in the way you feel is right for you. Your grief is exactly that. It's your grief. No one can tell you how to grieve, how long to grieve, when you should be over it. I'm only mentioning that because I have heard many stories from my followers on my Facebook page where they have been told by a friend, somebody they know, maybe an acquaintance, oh, you're not over that yet, it's been 2 years, maybe you should move on. Now, no one has the right to say that to anybody, because the way someone chooses to grieve is their choice. We all have choices. The only thing I will say is, during your grieving process, make sure you're being kind to yourself at the same time. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to grieve, and Spirit's never going to tell you how to grieve. But for me, and my personal view, is that as long as you're good to yourself, you can grieve as long as you like. Ultimately, when you lose someone, you're going to grieve that person for the rest of your life. But life just changes along the way, and it becomes a little bit, I don't know, easy is maybe the wrong word, but it becomes easier to live as the years go by. Now, some people may not agree with that, but that's just my opinion, and that's based on my own grief. Now, I know, let's say, for example, my stepdad, who passed 9 years ago, it was very hard at the beginning for myself, my mum, my siblings, his friends. It's very hard. But as life goes on, you never forget them, and to an extent you still grieve for them, but in a different way. It's not tears, it's not emotion, it's more you think about them a lot, and they're always in your mind. And that's just how it is for me, and that's how it is for many people watching, and that's and that's okay. I think there's something to be said for, some people are afraid if they stop grieving, they're going to forget that person. You're never going to forget that person. They're in here. The bonds that you have with people are bonds of love. You cannot break them just because they're passed over to Spirit. And yes, I know it's very easy for me to say because I have that connection to Spirit. But your loved one's always there, and they're never going to leave. They're never far away, right? Sounds a bit of a cliche, I know, but like they're in the room next door, so to speak. But you grieve on your own terms, and you grieve when you need to grieve and how you want to grieve. But again, as long as you're kind to yourself. And really what I mean by that is, there's some people that might take to the drink, they might take to drugs, they might go off the rails, they might do all this stuff that's no good for them. But if you're when you are in your grieving process, take it day by day, but be kind to yourself. Look after yourself. I know sometimes when someone dies and you feel that grief, some people even stop eating and they stop looking after themselves. But you need that. You need to nourish yourself. You need to keep that strength because, as we know, grief is a bitch, right? And it takes a lot out of us. But you need to be kind to yourself, okay? And no one has the right to tell you how long you should grieve for. No one ever has the right to say that to you. You grieve for as long as you like, as long as you're not stopping living your life. Because as I said before, Spirit don't want us to stop living. Whilst we're here on physical earth, we have a life to live. And there are still people here on earth that need us. Whether that's a family member, whether that's a friend, or whoever it might be, we are still needed here. Our time is needed. The rest of our time is needed here. We're not over in spirit yet. We will join our family and friends when our time is meant to go over, when it's our time to go over. But whilst we're here, Spirit wants us to live and to go through the experiences that we want to go through, we need to go through. We need to continue having fun, smiling, laughing, and not feeling guilty about that. And I think a lot of people do feel guilty if they, if someone passed a couple of weeks ago, but suddenly they laugh, they feel guilty all of a sudden. You can laugh, it's fine. Spirit don't want us to sit there in a depressive, sad state. And I know that is going to happen because that's natural when someone passes. But they want us to enjoy life. That we're not over there yet. We need to continue. Now, I know this is it's easier said than done. I do know that. Again, because I've experienced it. I'm not superhuman. I'm just a medium. Right? I'm somebody who has mediumistic abilities, but I'm just like everybody else. So I can only talk from my own experience, as I've said. But be kind to yourself. Keep living. Keep setting those goals for yourself. And we're here for a good time, not a long time, as the saying goes. Our loved ones will follow us all the way through our physical life. They're never too far. So just remember that. So that's kind of all I wanted to say on that topic, and I just want, it's important for me just to get that out, because I think a lot of people have lost people recently, whether it's due to COVID or other issues. I mean, other people are dying from other things like cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, and all the rest that's there. And it's not just COVID. You know, people are dying for other reasons, and I don't want those people to be forgotten about. And yeah, it's important just for me to speak on that, because again, I do hear horror stories of people being told, no, it's been a year, maybe you should get over it, it's been 2 years, maybe it's been 10 years, get over it. You know, no one can say that to you. No one has the right to say that to you. And before I go, your grief will never hold your family members back from going to spirit. And I mentioned that in a previous video where a lady was told that her grief had stopped her dad from going over to spirit because she was holding him here because she was grieving so much. Utter rubbish. Your grief will never hold your loved ones back to going to spirit. That is a natural transition. You leave this physical life and you transition to the spirit world. Someone's grief cannot hold a spirit person back from passing to spirit. Absolute rubbish if you get told that. Grieve, that's a normal human emotion, but as I said, be good to yourself, be kind to yourself when you are doing it, and don't listen to anybody else. All right, you might not even want to listen to me, but I'm just giving my views and opinions on it for you. So that's it for me for today, but it's really important for me to speak on that, just hopefully give people some peace and maybe just some answers that, you know, they've had in their head. You know, do I stop grieving? When do I stop grieving? People have told me this, people have told me that. So I hope this video has clarified some of that for you. So that's it for episode 9, where we talked about grief. Thank you again for watching the channel, for watching these episodes, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you can keep updated with the more episodes to come. So take care of yourselves, and until next time, I'll see you later.